Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at our CURT Premium hanging style bike rack right here on our 2020 Thor Coleman Motorhome. So the CURT Premium is what I consider one of the most family-friendly bike racks. If you have a motorhome, or if you have this motorhome and you have your family, so let's say you have 2 adult bikes and 2 or 3 children's bikes, this is probably going to be the best fit for you. So we'll take a look in this video just to see how it works, some measurements, to see if this will be a good idea for your trip and your Coleman motorhome. First off, I'd like to say that this is the way our bike is mounted is we have 3 points. So 1, 2, and 3. The third kind of works as an anti-sway. Now it does depend on your bike's frame how you want to tie this down. I prefer to go vertically, but notice how as we take this strap off, it takes a little bit of effort to do so because these are thick rubber straps. On one hand, there's a little bit more energy involved. On the other hand, that could be good too because then you get a tighter fit. So with those off, you can now just lift the bike up. And notice how as we get to the end, how much space there is to maneuver around those arms. That's where the family-friendly design is. That's the family-friendly design that I was talking about. So we'll just put this bike over here to the side so that we can take a closer look at the bike rack itself. What I want to look at is the way we have our cradles. So we have these different grooves, we have these different shapes on each side. So notice how, depending on your bike's frame, you can just move it around and then wrap the strap around the frame and then cinch or tighten it down. So you get a little bit of adjustability depending on your frame shape and frame size. Again, I have the 4 bike version right here, but this also comes as a 5 bike version. So it's going to be the exact same design, exact same features, just a little bit more weight capacity and a little bit more length. So with the 4 bike version, you have 185 pounds total weight capacity. The 5 bike version has 225 pounds total weight capacity, which is actually really impressive because most of the time your bike racks, especially the hanging style ones, are limited to 35 pounds per bike. This rounds up to almost about 45 pounds per bike, which is really, really good. Another thing about this is the way it's shaped, as well as how far apart your cradles are. Center to center, it sits about 5 inches over here, where you have a pretty good gap between your larger bikes and your smaller bikes. The 5 bike version will have another cradle right over here. So let's take some measurements just to see how much length is added to the back of our motorhome. Measuring from our bumper, and the furthest point is going to be by these nice shiny red reflectors. It sits at about 38.5 inches of length. The 5 bike version is going to have about 5 more inches added onto that. So that's usually important when you have it on a vehicle, when you have to park it in a garage. In our case, since we have a motorhome, which is already a larger vehicle, probably not going to be as big of an issue for you. But if you want to make this a little bit more compact, or if you want to prep it for storage in your garage, what you can do is you can fold these arms down. To do so, you have a pin and clip that you need to use. So first pull out that clip and then pull out this pin. It does have a string to it, so just hold on to that as you fold these arms down. Then in the folded position, you can then pop that pin back into place. You may need to maneuver this around a little bit in order to get the best fit. So as you can see, it's not a super duper fancy bike rack, but it's very practical. I think it checks off all the boxes when it comes to getting the work done safely and properly. So with it folded down like this, let's take some measurements just to see the difference it makes. First off is I want to take a look at the closest point. So you can see how from our bumper to right where that lever is, we have about 6 inches of clearance, so plenty of space between the two. And then measuring from our bumper to the furthest point, it now sits at 13 3/4 inches. So big difference compared to when the arms were up. You'll definitely want it in this position when you store it in your garage. Or let's say you're parked at the campsite, at the resort, wherever you were traveling to. You have your bikes, you're ready to go for a trip, and you can just have this in a nice, neat position, just like that. Let's also talk about how it fits into our hitch. So we have a 2-inch shank that fits into our 2-inch hitch receiver. It has an anti-rattle bolt and a clip. And what I use is the etrailer hitch alignment collar. Since this isn't that heavy of a bike rack, even I can lift it by myself with one hand, so it wasn't too big of an issue to install it. But if you want to, you can put the collar on the first time, and then the second time you install it, you don't have to look back and forth to make sure that your holes are lined up to install your anti-rattle bolt. So that anti-rattle bolt, in order to tighten it down, you need to use a wrench. And if you could, I recommend doing what I do, is just I use a socket wrench. It's a 3/4 inch socket, makes it so much easier to tighten it down. So let me demonstrate what the anti-rattle bolt does. As we shake our bike rack, notice how I'm mainly moving the Coleman at this point because our connection between the bike rack and our hitch receiver is secure, and we're not getting added rattle from an improper connection. If there is rattle, it would be right over here where our mast is connected. You can tilt this bike rack away if you want it on a vehicle. Definitely check out our vehicle video test fits for that, just to show you how it's done. Here on the motorhome, probably not going to be as big of a deal when it comes to features. What I do recommend you doing though, if you do have it on your Coleman motorhome, is see this lever right, or this bolt right over here, tighten that down as much as you can get it, and then go ahead and tighten this bolt as much as you can. It will make it stiffer to tilt down, but since you don't need that tilt down feature, you'll be perfectly fine without having to use that. So my personal thoughts about the CURT Premium Bike Rack is this is for motorhomes and not for other RVs. For your Coleman, definitely going to be an okay fit since you don't have as much of a sway as you would on, let's say, a 5th wheel trailer. If you have your friends, you have your family, you're all going for a trip, and you have bikes of different shapes and sizes, I highly recommend this kind of a bike rack just because it's easier to use and maneuver around. Now, it's not as fancy as the other hanging racks we have here at eTrailer. If you want something with integrated locks or with more cushioned cradles, maybe check out the Yakima back road. That could be a good option for you when it comes to more premium features. But if you want something that just gets the job done and does it right, this is a pretty good bike rack. So that was a look here at the CURT Premium Bike Rack in the 4 or the 5 version right here on our 2020 Thor Coleman Motorhome.
Here it is on our test course. We'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners or evasive maneuvers. Next, we're at the alternating speed bumps, which we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or pothole or driving over uneven pavement. Finally, we have the full speed bumps, where we'll see the up and down action, which is just like driving out of a parking lot, garage, or driveway.